Ever since that Spider-Man went to the multiverse and Doctor Strange soon to be making his debut appearance, it's kind of funny how the multiverse is suddenly becoming a thing in movies, especially with more movies coming out, experimenting on the same thing. But weren't there movies that kind of did this thing before? Well, there's one off the top of my head that I saw recently, and it surprisingly is a really damn good multiverse movie, and I'm gonna call it that. And that movie is The Family Man, starring Nicolas Cage and Tia Leone, and directed by Brett Ratner. This film is something else, and it really does feel like a multiverse movie that would come out right now. So, why am I talking about it, and why do I say it's a multiverse? Well, let's dive into Nicolas Cage's The Family Man and see just how exactly it ties into the multiverse. The film begins in 1987 with Nicolas Cage and Tia Leone saying goodbye to each other. Yeah, it turns out that during the beginning of this movie, they actually fell in love and were actually a couple planning on living a life together, but Nicolas Cage left to London. Cut to 13 years later, and Cage is living the high life as a Wall Street investorist that seems to be living off of the high life, and especially if we see him reading the Wall Street Journal and getting done with some booty. Hey, honey, why do you say that you come back in the bed and I'll show you my Sorcerer's Apprentice, and then later on we can see my Wicker Man, and by the way, we can have some pig and whatnot, if you know what I'm saying. Jokes aside, Cage is pretty much living the high life. He gets booty every night, he loves high management money, he wears expensive suits, he seems to be living a good life. While at a business meeting, Cage seems concerned about getting the company buyout. He wants to buy the company before they go to the next before they have the medical buyout. And of course, he tried to do this all within relatively good time and being a relative good sport about it. But then something happens. While meeting the higher up, played by Joe Summer, he ends up realizing that there would be anything that he would do for money and power, but not really for anything else, especially when his old love, his old flame of his life, Kate, wants him to come back into her life. He declines, and yet he wants to go on a business and team up with the powerhouse himself. But everything is not as it seems. At night, he ends up meeting a thug, played by John Cheadle, who wants to mug a store just because his lottery ticket, he says, was good, when it turns out, yeah, he actually faked it. But John Cheadle doesn't end up killing anybody. Instead, Cage manages to talk him down, manages to kind of get him to a good point to not want to kill anybody. So Cheadle accepts his offer and decides to walk home with Cage himself. Cheadle tells Nick that, yeah, there's a lot of choices and changes that people make in their life, and he made one of them. A surprising factor. Cheadle even announces that he's surprised that Cage would defend someone like him, especially in a moment like that, but much to his surprise, he had something in store for Cage. Because once Cage goes to bed and wakes up, he's not in his normal life, but instead he seems to be in a different universe, a multiverse. And in this universe, he happens to be married and have a family with the one and only Kate. Much to his surprise, and also to his surprise, it is Christmas Day, according to this movie. Cage, acting unnaturally, freaks the hell out and goes away from his family, especially on Christmas, and drives into New York City with an unsettling shot in the background, and drives up to his old motel. Cage tries to convince them that he used to stay there, but they wouldn't believe him, and so he drives off, attempting to find somebody who would believe him and his story that he is who he says that he is. His name is Jack Chambers, and he used to be the president of a huge company, but sadly, no one wants to buy it. He's soon met again by the one and only Don Cheadle, who plays an angel, alien, mythical being. It's never said what Don Cheadle's supposed to be, but essentially he's supposed to have magical powers in this universe. And so he laid it all on Cage about what's going on. The long and short of it, he made a change in Nick and Jack's life that would end up that he had to find out why it's so significant. He can't tell him. Apparently it's against what he considers the rules. So he had to go convince Cage to live out this life and see how it works for him, much to his urge an utter disappointment. Jack returns home to a very angry wife and ends up trying to put everything of the pieces of the puzzle together about why this is all happening, how he and Kate are together, how they have a loving son and daughter, how everything is fitting into pieces. But for Cage, sadly, nothing is working out. I wonder what he's probably thinking about. Oh crap, maybe I should have taken up Kevin Smith on that Superman line, and maybe I should not have been in Go Toward the Spirit of Vengeance. That wasn't my best move. But seriously, I'm gonna talk to Disney about playing the social repentance. So he and his waifu to a Christmas party hosted by a woman that basically wants to get into Nicolas Cage's pants. I'm surprised I even uttered that sentence on YouTube, but there we go. And so everybody's going to talk about the life that they have, and this is when Nick Cage suddenly starts to piece together what's really going on. He finds out that his wife is a non-profit lawyer. This means that she does have money, but not a lot that's coming in. Much to Nicolas Cage's surprise, because he's a man that came off of a lot of gotta get that dough and money, money, money. But his daughter is very different to this idea. Yeah, the daughter figure basically figured out that he is not her dad. Somehow, although he looks like him. Although she's convinced that he comes from aliens and the mothership, so what the hell do I know? Maybe the kid's on drugs. The next day, after the wife tried to get a little bit of the cage man, if you know what I mean, they go to the mall, where they just go to shop around with the budget that they have. But Nicolas Cage wanders off into an expensive men's warehouse. Yep, and he tries on a $2,400 tux, and throws probably the best reaction in the whole movie. He throws a fit very similar to a child about why he cannot get his tuxedo, and it is the best line and reaction in the whole movie because he plays it off like he's a little kid.
Primary chance. You know, it's sad to hear that your life is such a disappointment to you. I can't believe it isn't a disappointment to you. Jesus, Kate, I could have been 1,000 times the man I became. I could.
You would think this is the ramblings of a madman, but considering what Cage had been through in the past couple of days by this point, yeah, you can see how he's kind of being upset that he'd gone from a life where he'd had everything to a life where he practically has nothing. All the money and everything just went gone and right down the shitter. But in a car ride home, they talk about the memories that they have with one another, and if they've made any regrets or past decisions that weren't exactly very good or well in the past. Maybe like something that they've done. Because Cage is still trying to put together the pieces of why he's here and why this moment in his life is so significant. At the bowling alley, he finds out that Mrs. Slutty from the beginning actually really does want him. She wants an affair. She wants his children. She wants to ride on a disco stick. He wants to insert his USB drive into a port. Do I have to make it subtle of what basically the slut really wants? And so Cage actually decides to think about it, much like the idiot that he is. But he does not end up going through with it. He ends up actually having almost cake sex on the stairs with his wife. This might not be the weirdest thing that Nicolas Cage has done in his career, considering his line of movies lately. So, to help him ease his pain even further, he decides to watch some home videos where he suddenly tried to get how he was a husband and a father to his not only wife, but his children as well. So, to make up for the wrongs that he did in his life, especially forgetting his wife and his anniversary, great job there, Slick, he decided to take her out for a night out of town in New York, New York. And so, by this time and moment, Cage decides, yeah, maybe it's time I just accept the life that I have. He goes to his crappy job. He enjoys being around the comfort of his son. He enjoys listening to his daughter trying to practice the violin. And he even doesn't almost make it to work on time because his wife wants to be a little bit frisky. Yeah. But when at work he gets to meet his old partner Peter, again played by Joseph Stalmer, he suddenly realizes, wait, maybe I can get my old wife back, and so he's tried to do just that. He goes to his old job, hosts a meeting between both Alan Tudyk, yes, that's Alan Tudyk, and Joseph Sharma, and convinces him about why he would be good for the company and why the company could really benefit off of him. However, this does not go as he intentionally planned. Well, never mind what I said. I don't know why I mentioned the name Alan Tudyk. But anyways, Alan in the movie, that is his name, suddenly turns against Cage and threatens him not to join the company and to beware of Peter. But Cage just plays it off like it's all a big joke. Upset over taking the job and taking over a new career, he decides to tell his wife about this and decides to change their life for the better. Decides to take the family away from the life that they have to become part of his fantasy, much to the pain and disappointment of his poor wife. Later that night, Cage realized that he did not go to London as he intended. He went back to the United States to be with the woman that he loved. Basically meaning that true love did in fact in this movie conquer all. Which is the point in the decision that he made and might be the point that Don Cheadle wanted him to see. But as luck or fate would have it, he ends up with Don Cheadle again, this time running a gas station. He convinces Cheadle to stay away from him and to stay out of his life, much to Cheadle's enjoyment that he is enjoying the new life, and he thinks that he has Mr. Everything and even kind of mocks him for it. Maybe in the sense that he suddenly realized why this life for him is so important. So, as probably he maybe assumed or Cheadle told him, his life that he is now living is coming to an end and he'll be at his old life soon. So he makes his goodbye to his children and his wife and tells his wife never to forget him and to look out for him. But as soon as he falls asleep, surprise! He's back in reality or the other multiverse where everything is normal for him, and much to the poor guy's disappointment, he is alone and he can't take it. That even when his jolly old ho 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 comes a knocking on the door and wearing that, he wants no part of it because he wants his Kate and he wants his old life back, the one that Don Cheadle showed him that would be important to him. And so he goes on a mission to try and find Kate, going to her old house, finding out that she's not there, but still on the hunt for her in the meantime. So he ends up finding new Kate, who is sort of like old Kate, but not really. She acts the same just like Jack does. She's a little bit bitchy, she's a little bit snotty, and she cares more about money and power than anything else because apparently she's a successful businesswoman from what I can gather from the phone. But in typical rom-com and love story fashion, he stops her at the airport to instruct why she's so important into his life, how much he loves her, and how much that they would miss out on each other if they weren't together. And you know what Kate does during this circumstance, during the ramblings of a madman? Goes on a date with him during the lovely score of the one and only Danny Elfman. And how do I feel about the family man? Honestly, it is a really just damn good film. The Family Man is a simple romantic comedy starring Nicolas Cage, and honestly, he pulled it off pretty damn well. About a man who had everything to go and lose everything to realize that yet he's gained everything. The comedy in this movie is fan freaking tastic. There are at moments where Tia and Nicolas Cage just bounce off of each other very damn well and pulled off a very surprising and amazing comedy duo that I never thought would be perfect for this movie. In my opinion, in this movie, Nicolas Cage is at his best. He knows how to play it not too seriously and not too well, under the bar, so to speak. He plays it at the exact perfect level, and it pays off brilliantly in his design, at least in my opinion. So if you haven't checked out The Family Man, I highly recommend it. It's a great comedy, and it's such a feel-good movie about why family should never be forgotten and always, always be important. And always remember this during the holiday seasons and whatnot. Never forget run out on Christmas. Never forget your anniversary. And most importantly, never forget about what's important to you. And guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Join me at Twitter in the link down below. And remember, if you're gonna do something special in your life, be sure that you seal that business deal. Or try to have a happy life where you have a good family right next to you. Because either or, you really get a good feeling, and the family man gets a huge thumbs up for me.